Hello. Thanks for joining me today as we spend a few minutes talking with God. He loves to spend time with us. And I thought I would mention as we get started that we have a Christmas worship Spotify playlist here in the show notes that you're welcome to use in your times with Him this month. Personally, I've been spending a lot of time reading the Gospels lately, specifically rereading the accounts of Christ's birth. Now, someday I hope to visit Israel, but not having visited there yet and living in an entirely different time in the world, I recognize that I have very little context for what this journey to Bethlehem was actually like for Mary and Joseph. However, I found that driving 20 minutes in my temperature controlled adjustable seat SUV was often uncomfortable in my third trimester. So I'm guessing it was a little rougher than that for Mary. Let's wonder about it for a minute, though. After all, we are in our Hard and Holy Christmas series. From various scholarly accounts, we know that the trip from Nazareth to Bethlehem was roughly 80 to 90 miles and included a lot of hills. Traveling an estimated 10 to 20 miles a day, they would have walked for 4.5 days at the fastest. And that's an unlikely rapid pace given Mary's condition. Now, I picture Mary riding on a donkey for this journey, and it's likely that she did, at least for some part of the trip. But the Gospels are quiet when it comes to describing her mode of transportation, the weather, the food on the journey, and if they faced any outcast like treatment because of her condition. Also, traveling carried the danger of bandits and robbers in that time in the world, as we see referenced in the parable of the Good Samaritan. But that was the journey they found themselves on. Sure, Caesar Augustus had decreed a census, but Mary and Joseph found themselves walking along this hard path, and God had foretold about this as being part of Christ's birth. He was to be born in Bethlehem. So, as I was talking with God about this concept of hard journeys, I was struck with how common it is for us to walk out a hard path from what's comfortable or familiar to where we need to be. Sometimes setting out is actually leaving home, adventuring out from our family's house to the future that God has for us. Other times it's leaving the places where we've lived in our thought life, our habits, or even in unhealthy relationships. Sometimes it can feel like circumstances or even the choices of other people can thrust us into a hard journey, like a census, being called at the same time your pregnancy comes full term. But whether the journey we're on is part of God's good, intended, good plan, or He simply allowed it to take place, we know that He uses all things for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. And that's Romans 8:28, if you want to check that out. Personally, I'm on a hard journey right now, a few of them at the same time, actually. So, as I talked with God about this idea of long, rocky, treacherous paths, I found it so helpful to simply tell Him what was hard about the aspects I hate, about what hurts, about how I get tired, about what worries me. And then we started talking about how I know He's here and the reliance I have on Him to get me through the things that I can't manage on my own. And I asked Him to talk with me about what's holy, what's set apart for His intended use, what's sacred to Him, and the holy work that He is doing in me, if I could get just a glimpse more of Him in it. That's become an ongoing conversation that I'm having with God right now, and it's a sweet gift. As you talk with God, I invite you to use these simple prompts just as I did. Whatever hard journey you find yourself on right now, talk with God about it. If you feel like crying or shouting, let it out. He can take it. Come to your conversation honestly. Then ask Him, God, I already know a lot of what's hard about the journey that I'm on. What's something holy? Then listen for what He says. The free journaling pages in the show notes may be uniquely helpful as you continue this dialogue with Him. He's here for you. God, I already know a lot of what's hard about the journey that I'm on. What's something whole? Have a good talk.